lot of it obviously is the legacy of tires that are already in the water. Is there any idea of keeping tires, new tires, from ending up that same way? You know, could they, I mean, what does it cost you to pull out a tire? And could that cost be built into the price of a new tire so that somebody when they buy a tire, instead of rolling it down the hill into the water, takes it back for their refund? And, you know, the tire never goes in the water to start with.
Yeah. Well, nowadays, there's not many people doing that. We've made enough or brought enough awareness to the problem. I don't think there's anybody going to be throwing tires overboard anymore. And there's a lot less tires being used for bumpers. People are using proper buoys more now. And there are some still being used. But what I find, the owners of the wharves are chaining the tires on now and bolting them on, which makes it a lot more difficult for them to come off. So there's not as many tires going in the water, but now in the past 50, 60 years, there's probably 20 or 30 tires goes in the water every harbor per year, right?
Yeah.
So that adds up to quite a number of tires.
Okay, thank you.
Seamus, go ahead, unmute yourself and ask your question or comment.
Good afternoon, Shawn and Staunene, is it?
Staunene.
Staunene, I beg your pardon.
That's okay.
You probably recognize my accent. I'm about 1,800 nautical miles east of you. I came here 50 years ago, but I didn't lose the accent. But first of all, I congratulate you. I suppose it comes from your growing and living up in Newfoundland. Congratulations on navigating, and I say this, the political and bureaucratic process. I was worried you weren't going to get the hearing and the success that you did. I congratulate you, because it's so competitive trying to deal with getting heard these days, even though we have all these instruments like now. Right. But I agree that there's a great need. I think Julia might have mentioned it in her chit chat thing, and you mentioned it, for education. But it's rather like what we have in my condominium here. We have the residents very involved in recycling and sorting garbage and so forth. But a friend of mine who's involved in business and industry, he told me that it's great that you are doing this, but we got to get business more aware. And how do you educate business? Like, I can't afford to go to the next conference at Davos, you know, and try and convince them. And I admire your quote from John F. Kennedy, and you certainly have faith in that. But you need, and I say this respectfully, we need industry globally involved more.
I personally feel that the best way to educate is through our children, as they say, out of the mouths of babes, because if they grow up not knowing the damage that the litter does, they'll continue as their parents have done without knowing the truth. I grew up in the Yukon, and in elementary school, every spring we do a week of spring litter pickup. And so I learned at an early age the damage that litter does, not just that it's dirty and it's not the right thing to do. It's just that it causes so much damage to the environment and the animals. So that's where my don't litter comes from at an early age, and I beat it into him. So I think if we start in all schools all around the world, teaching them the effects of litter and why it's so important not to throw away anything, to recycle, to reuse. I know they've started that, but if our children start bringing it home and teaching their parents that, hey, don't do that, Dad, don't do that, Mom, we could do this, we could do that, then the parents start changing their bad habits into better habits, right?
We're also hoping that if we bring awareness to the problem, that there will be some other entrepreneurs that will step up and try to find a way to recycle these tires now, right? And find other things they can do with them. Right now,
thank you.
we're pretty limited to what we can do, right? Because we're concentrating all of our time on just building up the equipment to get out there and get this trash out of the water, right? So let's hope there's someone else sees what we're doing and wants to take it a little further, right?
Yeah.
Forgive me, do you have a website?
Yes, we do, yeah.
www.cleanharbours, HARBOURS.
I got it. Okay,
Perfect.
I missed that. Thank you. And good
That's
luck.
okay. Thank you.
Okay, George, go ahead, unmute yourself and ask your question or give your comment.
Well, I put a couple of comments in the chat, but I'd also like to say that I have a cottage in Georgian Bay, and our Cottager Association has an annual shore cleanup that collects many things. I have about 1 kilometer of shoreline on my island, and I can fill a few garbage bags, and I even got a boat last year.
Yes.
My comments in the chat were that one of the ads or several of the ads were about military, join the military. And I thought, well, why don't part of the training of the military involve underwater cleanup?
Yes, a good idea.
And the
Yeah.
second was that when you buy a tire, there is a recycling charge. You
Yeah.
pay for it when you buy your tire. Maybe
Yes.
part of that, or an additional charge be rebated when you return it, so that you get even the kids, instead of setting them on fire and rolling them down the hill, they'll take
that
them
was
to
only
the recycler and get the money and then buy the fireworks.
Yeah. Unfortunately, like, we have a really hard time getting rid of tires. Most landfills in Newfoundland don't want to see them, and there are some that will take them off our hands. There are some garages that will recycle some. The MMSB will take the ones that's in immaculate condition off our hands, and they will send them off to Montreal to be recycled. But because most of these have holes cut in them where they're tied onto the wharves, nobody won't take them. They got to go in the landfill. So one of the projects we're working on is to get a machine to grind up the rubber, so we can basically take the tires, grind them up in small pieces, and fill up big bags, right? And then ship them off to whoever needs it for making products out of
to
rubber.
recycle. Yeah.
Maybe some use of tires I've heard is in the aggregate for making roads.
Yes.
Well, we can use them down here. Our roads are bad.
Tell us
Yeah.
about it.
Jim,
Thank
go
you.
ahead, unmute yourself, your question and comment.
And the cans and bottles that you pull out, can they be recycled for money?
No, because of the condition of the coral growing on them and
The mud.
the mud stuff that's inside of them, nobody won't take them. If we would take each bottle and clean them with a pressure washer, which takes about 10 to 15 minutes to get them clean off the ship, then we may be able to get rid of them. But other than that, they won't take them, right? So another project we've been considering would be a bottle crusher, so that as we're taking them out of the water, we can throw them in our bottle crusher, crush them up to fine sand, and shoot them back overboard, right? Because ultimately, that's what glass is made of, sand. So if we crush it back to fine pieces that's not going to cut nothing, then we can just shoot it right back in the ocean as sand, right? Or then off the beach rocks or whatever.
Could the crushing and grinding form the basis of a company in the region?
I think so. Yes, absolutely. I think so. I think it's only a matter of time. Someone hears what we're saying and sees the volume of bottles that we can recover. Because any given day, if we concentrate on just bottles, we can get 4,000 or 5,000 bottles, right? Easy.
So that's a project for a master's thesis in one of the business schools. Call them up
Absolutely.
and suggest that they do that.
Yeah.
Or for Memorial University.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we have a lot of students reach out for us, so we've put the idea out there, but we gotta basically leave it in their hands to see what they do. But in the meantime, we're gonna try and raise the money to get a bottle crusher to start ourselves, right?
keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments Please raise your virtual hand before I turn it back over to Diane.
Julia was raising her hand.
Julia,
Yeah, go ahead, Julia.
you're not muted. You're muted still, Julia.
I'm sorry, I'm very tired today.
That's okay.
Shawn Errol, the lovely lady.
Name.
If you look for IHTEC, IHTEC.org, in there we have marine peace parks for education for schools. If you give me your email, I can send you our ocean dedication for people who are putting in a school peace garden, or anyone who just puts a rock in their school and says that's for peace. And that can be distributed through the education system. We have a logo which we will give you to put on any information you're sending out as our support. I can't do a lot these days, but you can have that to keep and put on it. We have a brochure with ideas on it, which we can edit together, you and I. I can update things, but I can't go out there, and I have a slideshow. I have done an analysis of policy that should be happening with Science for Peace and many other things. I'm going to offer it all to you. Just call me.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I've got the contact information there, so I will send it to you.
Thank you.
And Julia, I'll copy you when I do that.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Anybody else with a question or comments before I turn it back to Diane? Please raise your virtual Zoom hand.
Okay. Well, thank you for all your hard work, Shawn and Staunene. You guys are amazing with your persistence and your determination and your never give in attitude. I did have one question with respect to the $750,000 that you applied to the government, the Ghost Gear Fund. Have you considered reapplying? Because, you know, when you apply to any of these, for any of these grants, I've been in organizations where they've applied 2 or 3 times and finally gotten it. You would benefit from feedback so that you have some idea why you didn't get it. And I don't know, I think you've asked for that, if I remember correctly. Did you say that? So
Yes, we did.
I'd be a drip of water, pardon the pun, but go back again and just be that drip of water, find out why you didn't get it, and just keep going after it, because eventually you may get it. And I mean, they put 8.3 million in. How much did they distribute? You may want to find that out. And oftentimes they don't use it all up. And so just continue with your determination as you have done. I did have one question that came up on the chat was, if the nets are so expensive, why are there so many that are abandoned? Have you, probably not a definitive answer on that, but some idea as to why that happens?
The nets are really difficult to get rid of when you bring them on land. Like the landfills don't want them. There's no recycling programs for them here in Newfoundland. And some of the fishermen now literally have their backyards full of old fishing gear, right? So unfortunately, there are a few fishermen, not a whole lot, but there are some will just choose to leave their gear on bottom because they don't want it no more and they don't want to contaminate it when they come in, right? If it's old and it's no good for fishing purposes anymore, it's worn out, basically. There are some people just leaving it out there, right? But now, not a lot of people are doing that now, but in the 80s, that was a big problem because the government would subsidize people for any lost fishing gear. So basically that meant when your fishing gear was worn out, you could leave it out there and come in and say you lost it in a storm, and the government would reimburse you 100% for all new fishing gear. So, I mean, even though that was a good-hearted gesture on DFO's part, it turned out to be a nightmare for the environment, right? Because a lot of people just wanted new gear and didn't bother to bring their old stuff in, right?
That's really hard. Julia, you had another comment? You're on mute again.
Okay. Of course, as a fisherwoman, and have seen them mending nets in Sri Lanka, which is where I'm working with my student at the moment. Why don't you give it to all of those who knit and sew and quilters and everybody, because they all are very good at fixing things. Also go back to the people who create the nets wherever they are in the world and see if they can help. Just, you know, I'm thinking off the top of my head. Bye.
Okay, thanks, Julia.
Jim, just your final comment or question before I turn it over back to Diane for wrap up.
Thank you very much. Can the nets be burned, and could the nets be made so they would decompose in the ocean, like the effort to make these degradable plastics? Can that technology be applied to nets, and can nets be burned as fuel?
I don't know how environmentally friendly it would be to burn the nets, but I've often thought about that. I don't think it's a really bad idea, especially if we could burn them somehow when we had sweepers on our chimneys or whatever, or scrubbers to clean off the CO2 or carbon or whatever's produced. What was the second
The
part?
biodegradable part,
Okay.
I don't know, you have to have nets strong enough to haul in your big catches, right? So
Yes.
wouldn't the salt break down the nets if they're biodegradable? They might not be that good for catches, right? I don't know.
Yeah. Some of the technology now in the crab gear, they're using biodegradable lines so that if the fleet of gear is lost, the lines that are holding the actual nets in the steel frames will break down after maybe a year or two, and then the bags that catch the crab, that collapses and drops to the ocean floor or whatever, and it doesn't fish anymore. So they are putting some biodegradable twine in fishing gear, but it's got a long ways to go yet.
Mhm. It's such a big project.
It is
You
a
started
humongous
off by
project.
just pulling a couple of tires out of the ocean, and now you're into something that is much, much bigger than what you started with.
Yeah.
But we commend you and thank you so much. You have an address on your CHI website, because we do give you a nice little token of our appreciation.
And we have it.
Okay, that's fantastic. So we congratulate you and do keep up the good work. I'm glad that we had as many people on board as we did have to see your video. And as I said, keep up the good work. One last question though. Are you familiar with, okay, where is it now? Ocean Net. It was an organization that was started by Bob O'Brien. He's no longer with us anymore, but he did it through the university, through Memorial University. And it was to pull nets off the beach and out of the water through the university. I will send you the information I have on that, because it may be worth contacting the university. They may be able to help you as well with students.
We've been in contact with, I think it's Bob O'Brien's stepson, I think, or maybe his son. He runs a local dive shop. And first when we started out, they were a tremendous help to us. They were giving us free air, free hoods, mitts, and donate some free shirts and stuff to us. So they were really a great help to us. And yeah, he told me about Bob was doing the Ocean Net back in the day, right? And when they tried that back then, I don't think the timing was right. The environmental, I guess people wasn't, the environmental movement or whatever wasn't like it is now. So they didn't get the success I don't think that they wanted. So I think they handed it off to the university. But now it seems like people was a lot more aware of what's going on and more willing to help, right?
Yeah,
I actually had the pleasure of meeting Bob one day. He was an inspiration to people in this province when it comes to environmental cleanup, like cleaning up the oceans and that, right?
That's good to hear.
One more point now. When we first started Clean Harbours Initiative, like in the documentary, I said we needed $720 or $750,000, whatever. Half of that was for the retrofit of a boat that we had purchased, right? Because originally, when I started Clean Harbours Initiative, my main concern was for the right wells and other wells that was drowning here off the coast of Newfoundland, right? Because according to DFO's own numbers, there's like 740,000 tons, I think, of fishing gear being left in the world oceans every year. And we have a tremendous amount of wells disappearing off our coast. And the bottoms of our fishing grounds are littered with old nets, old crab gear and stuff. So I suspected, and I know now, I guess, that these wells have been tangled up in crab gear and gill nets that's been lost over the years. Just last year, when the crew from Petty Harbour, okay, that 80,000 you see me apply for there, sorry, the bigger grant that we applied for, the one that we didn't get, and some of the local groups here got access to some of that funding, and they went out and they dragged for 3 days, and while they were dragging for ghost gear, they pulled up old crab fleets, and they pulled 2 wells up off bottom, 2 dead wells in 3 days, which speaks volumes, right? Because the little bit of time they spent dragging for them to find 2 dead wells in that one area tells me that there's like hundreds and hundreds of wells dead on bottom off our coast area. And it's just a horrific thought that these wells are coming up here migrating for food and that, and then they're getting tangled up in old ghost gear, right? So
Well,
that's
the
what
whale you showed that was caught had a net that he was dragging around. That was horrific just to see.
that was an adult orca. I think the way that went down, I think that well was entangled as the fishermen were shooting the gear overboard, because that gear was found in 400 fathoms of water, I think, and normally they would not. Those wells don't dive that deep normally, right? So it's kind of like they must have got entangled as the nets were being settling down to the bottom, right? And dragged the
Wow.
well down with it, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've lost a lot of wells here.
I'm going to put a link in my next missive out to the membership so that they will get your link to Chai. And I hope you get some response from some of our members. And good luck with what you're doing.
Thank you so much for having us, guys.
See if
It's
you
been a
can get
pleasure.
back onto the Current in the morning, or on who's your Newfie guy who's on at Q. See if you can get on Q.
Yeah. Every time we go on the Current, we get really good support. So there's a lot of Canadians listen to that show and like what we're doing. So we've had some tremendous support from those people. But meanwhile, if you guys want to help us raise some money, just like share the link for our documentary, because more people see that, more chance we got to get donations, right?
Well, it will go on to, the link will go on to our website. And the interview, Graham did make a recording of these questions and comments. So it will go on to our website, and I will send it out to the membership as well.
Awesome.
So with that, thank you so much. And watch for our little tokens of appreciation in the mail. They will come probably within a week or so.